Today we continue diving into narcissism. You'll find the link to the previous video in the description. And here's a truth you can't ignore. The desire to be recognized is profoundly human. You want to feel seen, valued, acknowledged, because to matter is to exist fully. Narcissism doesn't start with arrogance. It starts with that simple, universal longing to matter. The difference is not in the need, but in how you answer it. You can depend on applause, or you can build substance so strong it speaks before you do. That quiet decision, invisible to the world but powerful within you, changes everything. In this podcast, we go deeper into what narcissism truly is. Not the stereotype, not the caricature, but the psychological reality. You'll discover why every single one of us carries a trace of it, and most importantly, how to distinguish healthy self-respect from pathological narcissism. What is narcissism? It's not something evil, it's a deeply human need. The need to be seen, to elicit responses from others, to feel validated, accepted, to belong. So yes, wanting to be noticed is normal, it's healthy, it's human. The problem arises when this need isn't met in a safe or adequate way. First, let's draw the surgical line between the regulated narcissist and the dysregulated one. Natural narcissism gives you structure, confidence, identity. It helps you stand tall without crushing anyone else. Dysregulated narcissism, however, is different. It's fragile, reactive, insatiable. One is rooted in inner stability, the other depends on constant external supply. The line is not loud, but it is clear. When self-worth is grounded, it empowers you. When it's unstable, it controls you. The dysregulated narcissist at their core depends on others to sustain their sense of worth. Their value doesn't live within them, it hangs in the air, waiting to be confirmed. And that validation cannot be occasional. It must be constant, relentless, immediate. Indifference feels like erasure. Not being noticed feels like collapse. They need to provoke to generate reaction, admiration, envy, even conflict. Anything but silence. Why? Because they rely on others to regulate what they cannot regulate inside themselves. They seek from the outside what they never learned to generate within, and that dependency becomes a prison disguised as confidence. The regulated person, on the other hand, can lose approval without collapsing. You can disagree with them, challenge them, even disappoint them, and it will affect them, yes, but it won't break them. They don't need constant affirmation, they don't need to be liked by everyone, and they don't need to win every argument. The more autonomy they have, the less they depend on external validation. To navigate daily relationships successfully, it's absolutely essential to grasp some psychology, really understand how we function, how others function, and above all, these subtle dynamics at play. Because here's the truth. You will encounter dangerous profiles, antisocial, psychopathic personalities, people prone to harm, psychological abuse, and sometimes even physical or sexual violence. Awareness isn't optional, it's survival. Knowing how these minds work gives you the clarity, the boundaries, and the power to protect yourself while still connecting meaningfully with the world around you. But here's the catch. The real danger isn't just their presence. It's not knowing how to spot them and set boundaries. And the truth, it's not that hard. Like so many important things in life, it becomes simple once you know how with the right knowledge and practice. Yet again, it's about discernment. We don't want to fall into toxic hypervigilance, overprotecting ourselves, or shutting down opportunities for connection. And we certainly don't want to accuse or judge others without legitimate reason. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture. How today's culture is shaping people to feel constantly attacked, to live by double standards, or to trivialize serious issues. The goal is to differentiate. A normal need for recognition, level 1, showing some narcissistic traits but still functional, level 2. A deeper narcissistic personality structure, level 3, where the self, the ego, the whole personality organizes around narcissistic patterns. And finally, being a manipulative, harmful narcissist, level 4. Let's not fall into hypervigilance, calling everything narcissistic, confusing minor issues with real abuse. That constant alertness can make you overreact, seeing red flags everywhere and living in unnecessary anxiety. These situations are often confusing because narcissists can be incredibly charming. From the outside, no one sees what's really happening. And here's the tricky part. They're masters at making you doubt yourself. Gaslighting, subtle manipulation, techniques designed to twist your reality. They create a fog that makes you question what you know. Awareness is your flashlight cutting through that haze. But also ask yourself, what part of this is touching a personal wound or vulnerability? What's in you that interacts with the negative experience? Sometimes it's a small brush, but it hits an old infected scar. That's why it hurts so much. And example, low self-esteem can attract abusers who exploit that vulnerability, or a lack of support networks creates openings for opportunists. Someone doing valuable work without allies can become a target for those trying to steal credit or advantage. On the other hand, you have to be careful not to build your identity solely around having been a victim of narcissistic abuse. Living only in that story traps you in pain, helplessness, and a constant sense of weakness. You will keep reliving the hurt if that becomes your whole identity. The key is to recognize, yes, something terrible happened to you, but you are not defined by it. You are a person who experienced something horrible, and yet you are so much more than that. Nowadays, calling someone a narcissist casually has almost become a meme, but make no mistake, it's a serious label with real weight. This happens often. First, you're called selfish or narcissistic simply because you set boundaries, because you prioritize yourself, because you honor your needs in a healthy way. And this is fundamental to understand. As we've said before, you are the most important person in your life, and the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. Your success, your happiness, your stability, they all grow from that inner coherence. Healthy solidarity begins with you. If you are not well, if you are not grounded, how can you genuinely help, support, or collaborate with others? Taking care of yourself is not narcissism, it's responsibility. And also recognize, the other person has their own path, their own struggles. They are not here solely to manage your feelings. It's common to see people with dependency issues, people who don't take responsibility for their own emotional needs or need for validation, project those unmet needs onto others. And when the other person doesn't fulfill them, they point the finger, they label, they accuse, you're selfish, you're a narcissist. But often that's not what's happening at all. What's really happening is displacement, the refusal to own one's own emotional hunger. Here's where we return to the two dimensions of dysregulated narcissism. First, there's an uncontrolled need for validation. But second, equally powerful, there's a deep fear of vulnerability, a terror of not being attended to. Secondly, it often happens that we get caught in the culture of me-ism. Yes, self-care matters. Yes, mental health matters. But without balance, we risk drifting into a self-centered society that wants to be seen, valued, and attended to, yet rarely asks, what does the other person need? Love is not just being understood, it is also understanding. Love is not only receiving, it is serving. As Mother Teresa said, to love is to serve. And thirdly, another trap, as Epictetus reminds us, is confusing our experience with reality. Feeling rejected or mistreated is real. You are experiencing it. But that doesn't automatically mean the other person intended it or that it happened exactly as it feels. Often it touches personal wounds or sensitivities. The key is balance. Honor your feelings, acknowledge the hurt, set boundaries, ask for help if needed, and express yourself. But don't let your experience distort reality or place responsibility for your emotions on others. Then level 1, healthy, regulated self-worth, is where you feel grounded, secure, and in touch with yourself. But move just a step higher, and we hit level 2, the mild narcissistic traits that almost everyone carries. And why wouldn't it? We live in a society that constantly fuels this, always chasing validation, wanting to be seen, praised, told we're great, competent, valuable. We're running after carrots, yes, carrots of approval, belonging, acceptance, often without truly knowing who we are. Imagine living to meet expectations that aren't even yours, feeling the tug of others' eyes, their judgments, all while forgetting to ask, what do I really need? Who am I really? Who? For example, think of a professional who wants to feel special, important, genuinely valuable, and recognized by others, whether it's a student, a patient, or a client. They want to be seen, admired, acknowledged. These are mild narcissistic traits, not something perverse. Wanting recognition doesn't make someone harmful. The same happens with authority figures, police officers, public officials seeking a bit of acknowledgement, a sense of control, security, or the feeling that they have the power to make things happen. It's human, it's normal, it's part of striving to belong and to matter. Or take the well-known good girl syndrome, a subtler form of narcissism often seen in women. It's less about authority or admiration, but still shows a quiet need to be told, "You're lovely, you're good, we see what you do." These are all examples of level 2 narcissistic traits. At level 2, these traits show up as low tolerance for mistakes, an inflated pride in one's own achievements, or a need to showcase accomplishments. You might notice it in yourself or others occasionally, and then it fades. Next, at level 3, we reach a deeper narcissistic personality structure. Here, the self, the ego, the whole personality organizes around narcissistic patterns. Yet many people at this level remain functional. What defines a narcissistic structure is a fragile sense of personal value. You're not sure of your worth, so you rely on appearances and others' validation. Your identity depends heavily on comparison, on being told you're good, competent, special. Beneath the surface, there's insecurity, fear, and sometimes hypersensitivity to criticism. You may swing between grandiosity, feeling like you're extraordinary, and shame, feeling like you're nothing. This fluctuation is key. It doesn't necessarily indicate severe pathology or manipulative intent, but it does shape how the person experiences themselves and others. But many people remain highly functional even from this level. They may want to be seen, need others to notice them, struggle to know who they truly are, or seek to feel impressive, admired, or great. They can appear ostentatious, yet they don't go to extremes. They don't do anything at all to get that recognition. They don't abandon moral boundaries, and their need for validation doesn't erase their capacity for empathy. And this is pure survival, the part of us that still carries the ancient wiring of our ancestors, always alert, always scanning, always striving to belong and be seen. It's primal, yes, but it's also what kept us alive. And yes, it still pulses inside you today. Today, we no longer fight for physical survival like our ancestors did, yet our minds still carry that primitive wiring, alert, reactive, always scanning for threat, even when the danger is no longer life or death. Today, survival is social. It's about competition, status, and belonging. That's why we are so sensitive to rejection, criticism, abandonment, and similar experiences. And now, let's get to the level where you really need to be careful, where protection is essential. This is what most people think of when they hear narcissism on social media. But as we've seen, it's not just that. Drawing on the work of Paulhus and Williams in their seminal 2002 paper and the concept of the dark triad, we can better understand this type. A perverse narcissist isn't just someone with level 2 or 3 traits. At level 4, they often show elements of the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and sometimes antisocial behaviors. This is where subtle self-focus turns into genuinely dangerous patterns. And in these dysregulated behaviors, narcissism is sometimes not present. Sometimes the person shows a mix of traits, dark triad elements, antisocial tendencies, or other patterns, partially or altogether. Reducing it all to just narcissism is simply incorrect. Understanding the full picture is how you protect yourself and see reality clearly. It's important to understand that we are dealing with dysregulated individuals, not healthy ones. While this does not exempt them from moral or legal responsibility, we must recognize that they are not psychologically healthy. When facing someone who hurts others and shows no compassion or remorse, sometimes their brains are biologically wired differently, affecting how they feel or don't feel, empathy and morality. And here's the hard truth. Therapy rarely cures this. Don't ever believe you're special enough to save them, because they are masters at manipulation, and they will play you like a puppet. This is when it becomes crucial to protect yourself, by spotting them early, by strengthening yourself from the inside, and by setting your boundaries clear, firm, and unwavering. Because the longer you wait, the easier it is to get caught in games of fear, insecurity, and humiliation. And this is the proposal today. It is fundamental to develop discernment. It's important to know how to distinguish when you are truly in a risky situation. And these are common patterns of abusive narcissism. There's the powerful type, the trickster or seducer, the fantasist who feels misunderstood, the lover type with unrealistic expectations in relationships, and similar patterns can appear in family members who always feel unloved or unappreciated. Finally, there's the messianic type, the so-called saviors leading cults, NGOs, or spiritual movements, projecting themselves as indispensable guides. Huge thanks for watching. If you like it, please kindly leave a like. Some things cost nothing yet hold immense value. See you in the next video.